today we are going to be doing Module 2, Lesson 25. Today we are going to continue to work on dividing decimals. This time, the numbers, though, are going to be smaller. Our I can statement is I can use basic facts, so those are our fast facts, to estimate decimal quotients with two-digit divisors. So that means we're going to use our fast facts to estimate, not find exact answers, with decimals that have 2 digits. So we're dividing by 2 digits, and we're going to do this by thinking about where the decimal place goes. So what you are going to do is, as you watch this video, you are going to follow along in your notebook. So whatever I write, you write. If you need to pause this video, feel free to pause it at any point in time to catch up. We are also then going to work on some problems together. Then you are going to join the meet and work with Mrs. Ratcliffe in your problem set. You must join the meet after this video at 1 o'clock. So, we are going to be working with division. Earlier in the module, and for a while, we have been rounding factors, so rounding the two numbers to estimate. So let's work on estimating, use my notebook, 39.1 divided by 17. This is just going to be an example for now. Before, we would round 17 following the rules of rounding. So we would round our divisor by following rounding rules. Remember, if I write, you write. So 5 or more, raise the score. 4 or less, let it rest. So we would change this to 20. Then we have to change our dividend by, or our bigger number, what we are dividing, our brownies, our money, our cookies, the number we're breaking up, into a compatible number. Now, we should know what a compatible number means by now. A compatible number is a number that works well with the divisor. So, that means I need to count by 20. So, 20, 40, 60, 80. So, what number is close to 20, but it's also, or is not close to 20, as a multiple of 20, meaning on this list, and also close to 39.1. If I look at this list, it would be 40. So I could take 39 and 1/10 and change it into 40. And I get 40 divided by 20 is approximately 2. So I know 39 and 1/10 divided by 17 is around 2, or is approximately 2. But we need to think about this answer. We know that our answer is about 2. But what does that approximate or estimate really mean? So let's think about the size of this quotient based on the estimation we just made. So let's think about the size of the actual answer. So we approximated that 39.1 divided by 17 is going to be 2. We rounded up in both of our problems. So our answer is going to be slightly bigger. That's why it's really important to make sure we are really always thinking about our estimate. Because when I go to actually divide 39 1/10 divided by 17, it's actually going to be smaller or bigger than the number 2, depending on how I change my numbers. So will this fit in more times than 2? Or will it fit in less? If we made it bigger or smaller, that changes it. It also changes it because we are going to move the decimal around. So now we are going to round 3 and 91 hundredths divided by 17. So let's just take a second and let's look at these two numbers. We had 39 and 1/10, and now we have 3 and 91 hundredths. Which number is bigger? Is this bigger or is this bigger? Well, we know that 3 and 91 hundredths is smaller than 39 and 1/10. 3 and 91 hundredths is 10 times smaller than 39 and 1/10. So that means something for our answer. If we know that 39 and 1/10 divided by 17 is going to be around 2, what does that mean for this estimate? Well, if 39 and 1/10 is 10 times bigger than this number, that means this answer will be 10 times bigger than this answer. So, this answer is 10 times bigger than this answer because this answer, or this number right here, is 10 times bigger than this answer. So, it would look like this. But we can use that knowledge. I'm sure I messed that up. That's going to be a question mark. Question mark right there. Times 10 equals 2. We can use this knowledge of how these numbers are related to solve this estimate. Okay? So, will the quotient, we already talked about this, will the quotient of this problem be greater than or less than the one we just estimated? Well, we know that this answer, this quotient, is going to be less than this estimate. We know that because this number is 10 times smaller than this number. That means that this answer is 10 times bigger than this answer, or this answer right here is going to be 10 times smaller because this number is 10 times smaller than this number. Okay? A little tricky to think about. But we need to keep that knowledge in our brain that those numbers are connected by multiples of 10. So let's estimate the quotient. Because our divisor, so remember quotient means answer, because our divisor is the same, we are just going to follow the rules of rounding, follow rounding rules, and we are just going to round it to 20. But this number is 3 and, not 30 and, it's 3 and. That means we need to think of multiples of 20 that would be close to 3.91. So I know, well, we used 40 before. Could I say this number any differently and make it closer to 40? Well, let's think. Well, this is 3.91. Well, I could change it to say 391 hundredths, and then, well, I could use a different number. So remember, we can always say these numbers differently. If I think about this without any decimal, and I think about if I had moved my decimal here like before, well, I could think about 40, right? 40 is close to 3.91. Because if I move my decimal, it's close to 39. So, well, if I know that this is kind of close to 39 tenths, or 391 hundredths. I could say this number as 39 tenths or 391 hundredths. Well, what is close on this list to 39 tenths or 391 hundredths? Well, 40 is close, but this number is not close to 40. This number is close to 40. So 39 tenths would be close to 40. So we would round 3.91 hundredths to 40 tenths. So now I have 40 tenths divided by 20 equals 2 tenths. 2/10 is decimal point 2. And if we look back up at our answer up here, we knew that this answer was going to be 10 times larger than this answer. And if I were to divide 2 divided by 10, that means I would move my decimal point 1 over and I would get decimal point 2. So we can use our knowledge of how we can rename numbers or rename decimals and moving the decimal point, but just to help us think, not to change the number, to estimate. So let's try this next one together. I'm going to give you a head start. You can pause the video and try to do it on your own, then check your answer with me, or you can do it with me if you do not feel confident. So it's going to be 311 decimal point 72 or 11 and 72 hundredths divided by 42. Pause this video and see if you can figure out the estimate or the approximate answer on your own. Remember, first round the divisor, then the dividend. Come back when you are ready. Right, so let's try this one. Now this one's really tricky. We have to think back to how we divided yesterday to help us. So we're going to round 42 to 40, and we're just going to focus on that 4. So I'm just going to count by 4s over here. So 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, right? Because this would be 40, 80, 120, 160, 200, 240. And I need to find a number that would be divisible by 4 or 40, but close to 11 and 72 hundredths. So remember, I can say this as 1,172 hundredths. I could say this as, because remember we're finding an approximate answer, I could say this as 117 tenths. I could say this as 12 ones, because we are rounding. So I'm going to say, well, I know that I'm going to change this number. I'm going to round this to 12 because 12 is on this list. Well, Ms. Scharf, that's 120. Yes, you're right, but we can split apart 40. Because remember, we are making numbers that are smaller or a decimal. So we can split apart this number because our number may be smaller than the number 1 and may be a decimal number. So we're going to round 11 decimal point 72 or 11 and 72 hundredths to 12 because 12 is divisible by 4. Ms. Scharf, how are we going to do that? I can't divide 12 by 40. Yes, you can. Think back to yesterday when we were dividing by a multiple of 10. Or by a 40, 60, 80, 100, 1,000, 3,000, numbers like that. We split 40 into two numbers, into 4 and 10. And we get 12 divided by 4 divided by 10. Because I know that I can divide 12 by 4. And 11 decimal point 72 is close to 12. So 12 divided by 4 is 3. So I took the 3 and the 12 divided by 4 and changed it to a 3. Now I have 3 divided by 10. If I put 3 divided by 10, here's my little place value chart, decimal place, tenths, hundred, thousandths. Here's my 3. I need to make it 1 time smaller, so I'm going to move it over to here, bring my decimal place down, and I get decimal point 3, or 3 tenths. So 11 divided by 72, or 11 and 72 hundredths divided by 42 is approximately 3 tenths.